Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and esteemed members of the World Zoroastrian Chamber of Commerce, friends, and if I may say so, fellow seekers of happiness at work. It is both an honor and a privilege for me to once again stand before you today to discuss a topic which I'm sure affects each and every one of us: happiness at work. Whether we spend our days in an office, a hospital, a courtroom, a retail shop, or any other profession, our happiness at our workplace has a profound impact on our lives. After all, work is where we spend the majority of our time, our waking time. So, it better be an area which actually fulfills us rather than stresses us. Shouldn't it be a space for growth rather than exhaustion? And most importantly, shouldn't it add to our happiness rather than take away from it? Now, what is happiness, especially in today's world? In an age of anxiety and uncertainty, we're all searching for ways to feel better. I read that 1 in 6 Americans is on some kind of an antidepressant. Beer, wine, and liquor sales have been on a steady incline almost all over the world for many, many years. Even those who one could consider are doing relatively well have become aware that material success does not necessarily translate into a more lasting sense of well-being, because you can get used to any level of luxury. So it's no surprise really that everyone is looking to add more happiness to their lives. We want to stop feeling stressed, smile more, or we want to bring more fun into our nights. Happiness is unfortunately quite elusive, and therefore I would predict that soon it's going to become one of the largest money spinners of the world. The essence of happiness at work, it's not just about salary hikes, promotions, or job security in today's unsecure world, although these are quite important factors. But true happiness at work should come from a deeper place, a place where purpose, passion, and people intersect. It is about finding meaning in what we do, fostering a positive relationship, and maintaining a sense of balance and well-being. A fulfilling career doesn't necessarily mean a stress-free one. There will be challenges, pressures, and deadlines, but the way we approach our work and how we manage these stresses determine our level of happiness. If we learn to focus on what truly matters, nurture an environment of support and positivity, and take care of ourselves, work can become and should become a source of joy rather than burden. As I see it, there are 3 pillars that can contribute to your workplace happiness. The first and most important is purpose. When we feel that our work matters, we are more motivated, more engaged, and feel more fulfilled. A doctor saving lives, or a teacher shaping young minds, a shopkeeper making a customer's day, Each job has a meaning. No matter what profession you belong to, remind yourself why you do what you do. If your work positively impacts even one person, it's meaningful. Finding purpose, therefore, in our work can transform mere labor into a source of joy. To truly embrace purpose, we must ask ourselves, what is it that really excites us about our work? What change are we bringing to the world, no matter how small? When we align our daily tasks with a larger mission, we create a more significant connection with our professional journey. You will remember, and I recall this story of some workers building the Taj Mahal in Agra. Most replied to a question, "What are you doing?" said, "Breaking stones, building a wall," till one soul finally said, "I'm building the world's most magnificent and beautiful monument." See the difference? The next aspect is really people. We do not work in isolation. Whether it is colleagues, clients, or customers, our interactions actually shape our experience. Creating an environment of respect, kindness, and camaraderie makes work enjoyable. A simple thank you, a helping hand, or a genuine conversation can make a workplace feel less like frequently what looks like a battlefield every day in the morning. Workplace relationships are fundamental to happiness. A healthy team dynamic fosters collaboration, reduces stress, and enhances productivity. Think of workplaces where people thrive. It's never just about the tasks, it's always about the people who bring these tasks to life. So we must actively contribute to a positive environment by encouraging our colleagues, celebrating achievements, and maintaining an atmosphere of respect and inclusivity. Peace of mind, that's most important. No job should cost us our mental health. Setting boundaries, managing stress, and maintaining work-life balance, in my view, are crucial. We must recognize that success is not just about professional achievements. I came to this conclusion rather late in life. But a stressed out individual may be productive in the short term, but he's going to eventually burn out. A happy individual, on the other hand, thrives in the long run. Strange that I'm saying this. If you ask my wife, she will tell you I'm probably the most stressed person in this room today. And she'll tell you that I had a bypass 15 years ago. And the irony is, today I'm standing in front of you talking about happiness. Peace of mind also means learning to adapt to change, handling workplace conflicts with grace, and knowing when to step back to recharge. We must develop coping strategies, be it through meditation, exercise, or simply taking breaks, to ensure we remain mentally and emotionally resilient. When I look back at my over 50 years of working life, I wonder what coping strategies I use to sail through this long journey. What I often thought what was then the end of medicine because of the frequent challenges I got into, many indeed. And often I thought, stupidly, that peace of mind can wait because that's the price I have to pay for medicine to succeed or continue to succeed. The price I paid, bypass at age 62, high blood pressure, a hip bone replacement, and last of all, chronic kidney failure. Let us now pause to see if we can draw some learnings from our own Zoroastrian philosophy on work and happiness. I believe we have a lot to learn from our philosophy of Humata, Hukta, and Huvarasta. These principles, I think, are not just spiritual ideals, they are practical guidelines for us to be happier at work if we followed them. Good thoughts at work, a positive mindset changes how we approach challenges. Instead of seeing difficulties as obstacles, we can view them as opportunities to grow. Good words at work, the way we communicate, can build or break relationships. Encouraging words, appreciation, and honest yet respectful dialogue create a harmonious work environment. Good deeds at work, going the extra mile, helping a colleague, or simply performing our tasks with sincerity and integrity makes our work more meaningful. These principles are actually timeless. If we bring them into our professional spaces, they will help us cultivate ethical relationships, develop resilience, and inspire ethical leadership and inspire those around us. Let me now try to share with you some hacks for a happier work life. Some are from my life, some that I have read about over the years. But the hacks could help you cope with life's pressures and stresses on a day-to-day basis. The first is, I think you need to maintain whatever your work-life balance equation is, whether it is 80-20, 50-50 or 40-60, whatever it be, make time for things outside your work, for family, hobbies, self-care, relaxation time or party time as important as work time. Surround yourself with positivity. Choose to be around people who uplift you rather than drain your energy. Find joy in the small things of life, whether it's a cup of tea, a friendly chat, or completing a task successfully. Appreciate the little joys of the day. Keep learning and evolving. A stagnant mind leads to boredom. Keep yourself engaged with new skills and challenges. And in today's world, there are lots of new skills constantly evolving and emerging. And who knows, you may even be highly rewarded for keeping yourself updated. Don't let perfection be the enemy of happiness. Sometimes we stress over achieving perfection when good is good enough. Focus on progress going forward rather than perfection. Follow the 80-20 rule. Create a stress management toolkit for yourself, whether it's deep breathing, a short walk, for a few minutes, meditation. Find techniques that help you reset your stress levels rise. At the end of our careers, it's not just the promotions or the money we make that will define our success, but the impact we have made on those around us, our colleagues, bosses, subordinates. Let us work to make a living, not just to make a living, but make a life that is rich in purpose and filled with meaningful relationships and rooted in peace of mind. How do we want to be remembered in our workplaces? As someone who inspired others, supported their colleagues, and created a positive work environment? Or as someone who's constantly stressed, chasing goals without ever pausing to appreciate the journey? A legacy is created in the small moments, how we treat people, how we face challenges, and how we bring values into our work. One important thing I have learned: you have to train your mind to be happy. It's easier to get unhappy, and that's so easy. You're always unhappy over something or the other. Training your mind to be happy is far more difficult, but it has to be done for your own sanity. It's not about the paycheck, whatever money you're drawing from your job. One thing is certain: doing it for money won't bring you happiness over time. It may give you momentary happiness. Numerous studies have found no correlation with higher salaries and a higher level of happiness. A study by the Forbes 400 richest Americans found those Americans just slightly happier than the Maasai people of East Africa who live in mud huts without electricity or running water. Take a proper break. Long live the coffee break. Researchers at the university right here in Toronto found that frequent breaks improve creativity. A professor pointed out that our brains have a limited amount of energy, requiring them to be frequently recharged. Just taking a break sometimes is not the solution. It's what you do with the break. So you have to stop the demands associated with work. That means engaging in something that is totally different or respite activities. One time tracking productivity app called Desk Time suggested that 10% of the most productive employees took an average break of 17 minutes and worked straight through 52 minutes. So every 52 minutes, a 17-minute break is recommended to recharge your mind. Another important point, a lot of apps say not to eat your lunch at your work desk. However short your break runs, the key is to make it a true break, fully relaxing during your lunch break. So stay away from business lunches whenever possible. I see a lot of our staff go down to the lobby and take a walk at lunchtime, a good anti-stress device. Working less won't make you happier. You probably thought now and then that maybe the root of your frustration is that you're working too many hours. The Happiness Research Institute, based in Denmark, investigated this claim and found mixed results at best. Several studies of working people found that those who are employed for a full 40 hours or more feel higher levels of personal satisfaction in their lives than those who work part time. So, a reduction in hours is generally accompanied by a drop in happiness, while a shift from part time to full time employment increases happiness. Don't retire early. Retiring early may be a dream for many who wouldn't want to cut out the 9 to 5 existence by the age of 50 or 40. But before withdrawing from the working world to spend your days sipping pina coladas or whatever, consider that early retirement might not be great for your mind or happiness. Take me, for instance, still working at 74, though I'm forced to slow down a bit. Set aside a few minutes each day to meditate. Take minutes to stop and focus on breathing. Keep a few minutes aside for yoga. Couple of hours a week is going to do no harm. I now do yoga every morning for an hour, another 30 minutes with my physio ever since my hip replacement, and a walk for 30 minutes in the evening. Possibly a good coping mechanism for me at the start of the day and at the close of the day. Now, for the last part of my talk, I'd like to share with you my thoughts on when I am happiest at work. Remember, I run an advertising agency. So, I'm happiest when a job is accomplished well and the client is delighted. When a job is completed and though delayed, is completed to client satisfaction. When a client writes a letter thanking us, appreciating the team that is on the job and for going beyond the call of duty. When a job is accomplished well and makes money for the agency. A delighted client makes the entire agency energized and work sound like a breeze. When a team works together like a dream or a well-oiled machine, earning more money than you deserve to, accompanied with a deep sense of satisfaction, is good, but not one without the other. Taking 3 to 4 breaks of just about 2-3 days duration a year, shorter, more frequent breaks work for me versus one long break. The current break of 1 week to Toronto could qualify as a good coping mechanism. When I'm saddest, when an unhappy client leaves us in a huff, when an unhappy client leaves us for the wrong reasons, when I can see it coming and there is very little I can do about it, whatever the agency does, we have a disgruntled client on hand, my health prevents me from going to work, or when my friends cancel a weekend that has been planned for weeks. These are just some of the things that are pulled out from my life. So, work really is not just about earning a livelihood. It's about contributing to society, finding fulfillment, and achieving inner peace. If we integrate purpose, people, and peace into our professional lives, we will not only be successful but also be happy. Let us embrace the wisdom of our ancestors, the resilience of our community, and the power of positivity to create a work environment that nurtures rather than depletes us. On a closing and sobering note, it is Dalai Lama who said, that happiness comes from liking what we have rather than having what we like. So start doing that if you're not from right now. Thank you very much for listening to me. For the next part of this discussion, I'm going to invite 4 young friends to come and join me on this panel. Come, can you please? Hi guys, thank you very much for joining me today. So our first panelist is a youngster, the youngest on this panel. She's Behnaz Nanavati, a young business school graduate pursuing her law. She's already worked for 1 year, so she has some experience of professional working life. And she's going to tell us about her idea of happiness. Then we have a doctor, Dr. Adil Bhesania. He's a dentist, and interestingly, he does volunteering service for the Toronto Police.
Halton region.
Hot air region. And then we have Meherwan Wadia, and he's an expert in the BFSI industry, practicing here. And then we also have Jiva Moradian. He's traveled to 77 countries at this young age, and he's also equipped with a degree from Imperial College Business School in London. Right, guys? So that's a brief introduction for all of you. Thank you very much for being on this panel. Now, to start with, you heard me talk a lot on happiness. I think that's a lot for anyone to talk about on happiness. So what would you say, what kind of stress management device have you sort of evolved or created for yourself to cope with stress? Let's start with you, the oldest.
Thank you for having us, Sam, first of all. And so the way we look at stress in our facet of life, where there's constant innovation, there's constant components within the entire framework of companies that are going on. So there's constant work that goes through things, and there's a lot of partnerships that we have to build amongst teams that are there. And it's sort of like a puzzle. You have to identify which component goes where, right? Which fits in together, what comes after each other in an ascending or a descending order, right?
Okay.
So finding those things, planning the right way to manage these projects and programs to ensure that the client at the end of the day gets the best value for what they're paying us as consultants, right? So the satisfaction that they get at the end of the day when we say, okay, we are going live today with our new upgrade or with this new enhancement that's coming in or a new product that's being launched, right, for them. So they see the business value that comes out of it. So the hard work that we've put in, it might be a few months, it could be a few years that transition into the final delivery. So when you see these products coming into play in the world of technology, that's where sometimes we find the fulfillment factor or satisfaction, as we call it. And that does bring a sense of perseverance and motivation for the youngsters looking at us. And they take a leaf out of the way we do things, right? The way we structure it, we plan it, and such.
What gives you personal satisfaction? I mean,
When you
we
see-
are now not talking about your clients. What gives you personally satisfaction?
So when,
I mean,
when we see that our client is happy and they come back to us asking for more help, right? Like we have this solution, we have this problem, we need a solution for it. And that's when we put our minds together to make sure that it not only meets their expectations, but it exceeds it as well. And at the same time, when we are doing that, we set certain benchmarks within the industry itself. I'll give you an example. Some of the big things that we've done is swift payments that go around in the world. There was a time when a payment would take 2 weeks for it to reach from India to say anywhere in the world, right? Today, that same system that we have built over the years and refined
One
it,
day.
it's 4 hours. So a payment today that you make from here, say at 4 o'clock this evening, will reach India within the next 4 hours or the next business day, right? Because if the banks are not working, then obviously the system is different, right? So it takes 4 hours to get there. So there are so many things that are evolving in the industry, and when you are a part of that change, it gives you that fulfillment and purpose as such in life, right? So there are so many other ways that we look at, not just in careers, but we try to implement that in our personal lives as well, right? And when you see that, you know, people take a leaf out of your way of doing things, that gives us the satisfaction that is
Okay,
there.
good. So let's go on to Jivan.
Of course.
Jivan, what are you currently doing? I mean, professionally, what do you do?
I have a somewhat non-traditional career path in that the bulk of my work is self-employed tutoring. So I serve as a math and business tutor, mainly for college students, but occasionally MBA students or high schoolers. And on the side, I also work as a project manager at this French AI startup.
And what took you to these 71 countries at such a young age?
Mainly, that's a good question. I had a bit of a travel bug. I think traveling is something that brings me joy and excitement. And it's something that I was fortunate enough to have a job that allowed me to do so, because all of my work is remote, which means, and since I'm self-employed, I can control my schedule and I can work from anywhere in the world. I think the things within traveling that stand out to me or that make it that bring fulfillment from it are the aspect of learning. When you travel, you meet people from very different cultures, from very different classes of life, from very different backgrounds, and it's fascinating to learn about different histories. It really opens your eyes to the world. That, and I also like the adventure as well. There's something very satisfying about waking up at 2 in the morning to catch a night bus to travel to another country, which is both painful in the moment, but also rewarding at the same time.
So you think you will be able to pursue this travel bug for a long time, or do you think you're going to tire out of it soon?
I absolutely will not be doing it forever. So what I figured was that it also made sense for me to do it while I'm young and have the energy for it. And I've already been feeling the travel bug, tone down a little. So now I'm based back in New York. I'm reducing the number of trips. I think I'm only going on 3 major trips this year. I'm still enjoying it. But it's also something where, and I think this is tying to the overall notion of happiness. I think this is something important to note about happiness is that what makes you happy at one point in life will not necessarily make you happy in the future.
Correct.
So right now, I'm young, I'm single, I have energy, and I'm still in the phase where I need to grow as myself as a person. So traveling is fun now. But in 10 years' time, I will probably get a lot more fulfillment from building up a family, from having more established businesses and stuff like that. So I think it's important to be sensitive to where you are and to not hesitate to change what, if just because you found something brings you fulfillment in the past does not mean you have to tie your identity to that in the future.
Good, thanks. Okay, let's go to the dentist now. What is your source of happiness? What does happiness mean to you? How do you derive satisfaction and happiness? When are you most happy?
Sure, that's a lot of questions. So first of all, thank you for having me up here, Sam, and the WZCC organizing team as well. It's my first time attending a WZCC conclave, and I've attended congresses and other Zoroastrian meets in the past, but it's my first time at a conclave. So thank you for having me up here. Regarding happiness, it's what it is or what it means to me. It's just an internal feeling where you feel personally satisfied. It could come from anything. Maybe you had a nice meal at a restaurant. Maybe you helped somebody out. It could be going to your favorite artist's concert. It varies for everybody. Like Jivan said, it changes from time to time. What could make me happy this year or today, it might be different tomorrow. The Leafs winning tonight will make me happy, for example. So, and tomorrow it will be something else. So it varies from time to time. Coming to, that's sort of out of work. Coming towards my work and what makes me happy at work is just where I'm able to deliver good results or where I'm able to help somebody in need. I do travel because of my work as well. I do work in Ontario and I also work up in the north, like in the Arctic, in Nunavut. The situation for dentists over there is there are very small communities in Nunavut. There's about 33 communities. It stretches all across Canada on the top from east to west. And these communities, they don't have a full-time dentist. So the smaller communities, like let's say where there might be, the smallest I've been to is 163 people. They get a dentist once every 3 months for 7 days.
Oh.
So once I leave, or once the previous dentist left, if somebody had a toothache start after 2 weeks, now they have to wait 2.5 months until the next dentist goes in to help them out. Or they have to fly on their own expense to the closest, which might be Ottawa, Winnipeg, or Edmonton, like one of the big cities where somebody might be able to help them. I don't know how, I've never experienced a toothache. I'm very thankful for that. I don't know how many of you have, but those who have, I've heard it's compared to labor pain. I can't attest to that either, but somebody who has might be able to tell you, right? And just imagine living with that pain. Again, usually when you have a toothache, your teeth are very sensitive to cold. The temperatures up there, these guys, they live 10 months in snow. They only get 2 months of summer. -20, -25 is considered springtime. I just came back 2 weeks ago from there. And -25, yeah, they're all like happy. They're like, oh, spring's here. They're in their spring jackets. The gloves are off. And these are hard people, right? Like they're very resilient. But like now imagine in -65 with a toothache, you're walking out. It's hard for these people to breathe outside because the cold air sends a shooting pain through their tooth and body. And when you're able to help these people out, that's something that like I can't even explain how satisfying that is, because there's like the first day we go into a community, our schedule usually fills up within 2 hours for the next 6-7 days. The phone just rings nonstop. There's usually people on the wait list, and being able to help these people. And sometimes it's sad because there's people still on the wait list that we're supposed to see, but our time in that community is up. It's a very hard feeling. We try to prioritize emergencies versus somebody just saying, oh, the last dentist told me I have 5 cavities and I need to get it filled. Okay, you're on like the last day or something. We're going to deal with the emergencies first. But sometimes we even leave people in pain and we have to leave just because our time in that community is up. And then it's sad, but they have to wait 2 months, 3 months for the next team to go in. And so that's not satisfying at all.
And tell us a little bit about your volunteering for the police.
Yeah, so I started that last year. I volunteer with Halton Regional Police Service. Halton is a suburb of Toronto in the Greater Toronto area. So this is Toronto. You'll have Peel next to it in the west, which is Mississauga, Brampton area. And then you enter Halton, which is Oakville, where I believe some of you will be going to the other association that we have in Ontario, the Ontario Zoroastrian Community Foundation. So that's in Oakville, so basically that region. I work with District 2. That's the platoon I'm assigned to, which is Oakville region. The other communities there are Burlington and Milton. My role there is we do a lot of community events as voluntary police officers. So it could be Like in winter and around Christmas time, it could be like the toy drive. So we set up Halton Police Cruisers where people, when they're leaving Canadian Tire, they can donate a lot of toys. The other ones could be like for Special Olympics, we have a polar ice plunge event. There's the YMCA event. So it's a lot of community policing where we get involved with the youth especially, and we do a lot of that. We also do traffic management and security at like big events. Like a huge event annually in Burlington is the Sound of Music Festival, where almost 50,000-60,000 people show up. So, and another thing that happened last year at Sound of Music was somebody brought a lost child over to me and my partner. And we were just walking along the promenade when that happened. And then we radioed that in the head office of our main head station. They made an announcement. We had that kid with us for an hour and a half before we were able to locate the parents. Because finding parents in a 50,000-60,000 people congregation, that's really hard. But we were there with that kid for the full hour and a half. And that kid was not giving us, I believe somebody earlier, I think Arnava said, the person was rattling off. The kid was small, 4 or 5 years. All he said was, "Mom, Dad," that's it. No phone number, nothing. We just kept announcing that, hey, we have this lost kid with us. So
is this something that you always wanted to do, or is just something that came about and you took it up?
Yes and no. I've sort of been interested in law enforcement kind of thing, but it wasn't necessarily a career passion, not a career route that I wanted to take. My career route was more inclined towards healthcare. But if something along those lines came up where I got this sort of opportunity, then yes, I would say I was inclined towards it too.
And how much time do you spend on this?
Our commitment with Halton Police is 144 hours a year, so that breaks down to about 12 hours a month. You could do a full 12-hour shift on the road, like if you go on a ride-along with another. You're always paired up with a full-time police officer, because we're not armed with, we have a baton and handcuffs, but we don't carry guns. That's why we're always with a full-time officer. And you could do a 12-hour shift on the road, like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Or you could break it up. Let's say you were doing a smaller event. It could be 3-4 hour shifts as well. And you can always go over your 12 hours as well. It's not a firm requirement. They just expect a minimum of 12 hours.
Is this totally voluntary?
Yes, this is totally voluntary.
And does it give you some sort of deep sense of satisfaction?
Of course.
What? Is it a sense of power or
not power necessarily? Yes, the first time you put the uniform on, you put the vest on, it does feel nice. So you always take selfies, you take pictures in the mirror, you send it to all your friends. Yes, that does happen. But after that, it's more of a community feeling, right? In winter, along holiday time, we do a lot of ride programs, which, if anybody's not aware, we set up a random checkpoint outside, maybe a popular street where we know a lot of people leave bars and stuff, and then we just stop every car and we ask them a question like, hey, anything to drink? We put our heads in their car, try to breathe in, see if we get a smell of alcohol from their breath, check their eyes. So our team, we did 2 arrests when we were the holidays, and then recently there was St. Patrick's Day on mid-March, I believe. I don't remember the exact date, but mid-March there was St. Patrick's Day. So again, we had a ride program set up in Oakville, and we got 5 drunk drivers that day. So getting drunk drivers off the street, that's a very satisfying thing. And one of the checkpoint we had is, if anybody knows the Oakville area, Trafalgar and Spears, there's that beer town over there. That's just 2 blocks from where my sister lives, right? So think of it like a drunk driver could drive through my sister at any point. So that obviously is very satisfying, getting them off the road.
Okay, good. We'll get back to you. Behnaz, nice to see you from India. So tell us, it's going to be law all the time for you, or is there some other passion also that you're chasing?
So, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Sam. For me, happiness is varied as compared to the other panelists, since I'm one of the youngest here, and I have only a year of experience on my hands. But for me, happiness also comes with my social work, what I do, and more than anything, sometimes I prioritize that over my work, which I have along the years, which is rewarding to me, not financially. So my father has to tell me, to give community a break and then focus on your job, because that's going to give you the money that you need to go ahead with life, because you can't live on your daddy's money your whole life. So that is one thing. But yes, I have worked, and work does give me happiness on its own. Going before a judge in the High Court in Bombay, it gives me happiness to argue with that judge. Well, not argue, but put my points forward. And what brings you more happiness is when he smiles at you. You see, there's this judge who's really rude to everybody, but gives you something that he would not normally grant others. Then that particular person would want you to work on their case for the sole fact that you could turn the judge your way. So that gives me a little happiness in itself. Working on a particular matter, researching, gives me happiness as well. But what gives me more happiness is when I see more youngsters in a crowd. Parsi youngsters in a crowd of a Parsi event. That is what gives me happiness. So I'm not sure if, law is going to be my career path as far as I know for now. I'm not sure about the future because no one is. But social community work is going to be primarily what I want to do.
So what do you feel about the Parsi community? And you think, is the community doing enough for you?
For the youth?
Yes.
I think in itself...
Now let's talk about you specifically, not about youth in general.
I think if I were to ask what the Parsi community has given me, I would not want to answer the question, because I would turn it the other way around and see what I'm doing for the community in order for them to give something. Are you
doing enough?
Well, I have just started, but I think in my own stride, I think maybe so. I like to be positive that way. But yes, I like to hold a lot of events, in-person events, because that's always better. The energy is there. And, get that one person out of their little bubble. Just that one person who's an introvert, getting them to interact with a lot of people and getting to know more people, that is what gives me happiness. So, say, for example, a live example, when we had one of our Lonavala conclaves, the first of its kind, we had a person who had never interacted with any Parsi family, living in the heart of Pune, but we did not know them. We being a very social family in Pune, organizing a lot of events, and I was surprised because this is a chirpy little girl, maybe not so little, in her late 20s, but she had never been outside, never known anybody else in her community. And when she got that little step, she bloomed because she got to know so many people. And she was as chirpy as I was, and that gave me happiness, because why should she be alone when she can have so many friends to interact with, and then maybe even in the future marry someone of the same faith. So that gave me happiness in itself.
Good. Okay, so let's come back to you, since you have considerable experience in working and you've been around for some time. What are the kind of coping challenges that you have brought to bear, say when things don't go right? All the time things won't go right. So there will be times when client is upset. At that time, what kind of a coping mechanism would you bring to bear? If you can tell us about that, that'll be nice.
Sure, Sam. Good question. So there are going to be challenges in your life, whether they're big or small, right? So I'll talk about all the tiers that we have in our life. So when you're in the doing stage, where you are probably writing code, there are issues within the code sometimes. So you have to figure out what the challenges are, why the code isn't working, and why the system is not working as per your expectations. So once you get that done, you analyze, you retrospect, and then you refactor what went wrong, find the root cause, solve the problem. The next stage is when you become a lead and you have resources that you have to manage. Sometimes it's not about projects that you deliver, it's about managing those resources that you have and giving them the right direction. Some people will obviously be superstars, and some will need the help helping hand at all times, right? So you have to balance yourself as a leader at that point of time, where certain associates will require your assistance, and some you just have to tell them, you get this done, let's talk again in the afternoon. Once it's ready, let me know, right? But there are certain people that will require those helping hand every time that they do things. And sometimes you get personalities that doubt themselves at every step of the way. So sometimes when you show them the guiding way of doing things and changing their mindset, that's what gives you happiness as well, right?
Yeah, but I'm talking about when things go wrong. What kind of coping mechanism would you bring to bear on yourself so that you can cope with the situation? You're staring at failure. At that time, what keeps you going? What is it that will help you overcome the
As
loss?
human beings, we should see failure not in a negative way, I feel. We should take it as a stepping stone towards success, right? Because at the end of the day, every failure is a stepping stone for success.
And
So-
are you able to do it?
Yes, most of the time, 90% of the time, you will face those challenges in life. And that's when the true character comes out of you, your team, as such, right? And when you put yourself in the place where you are challenged, and sometimes it's in your control or it's not in your control, right? When you're stuck in between two different personalities, whether it's politics taking place or whatever the case might be, overcoming that is talk to somebody, see what their perspective is. Sometimes you just have to come up with a fresh idea, right? You got to use lean practices sometimes. And the only way you can adjust to failure is by learning about new things that you can incorporate in that particular situation, right? So you could say, once you learn something new, you will say, oh, I could have used that in that particular situation. We wouldn't have spent so many hours doing that, right?
So, is this an entrepreneurial venture of your own?
No. So
You're-
as consultants, you become an entrepreneur because you're selling.
So,
Products.
right now you're working for someone else,
Yes.
for a part of a larger company.
That's right.
So, when would you think of starting out on your own?
Well, I already have. It's different from,
You want to talk about it?
yes, I'm a professional DJ and a photographer, right? So I use most of my expertise. So these two are my passion, right? So when I have to
Photography and
DJ,
DJ.
so
So very, very, very different, very diverse.
That's
very
right.
Different.
So music was my passion since childhood, and I wanted to give back to people, right? When I see people enjoying their musical journeys when we perform, that's what satisfies me, right? And when they say that this was the best night we have ever had, that helps.
And this
Right.
doesn't interfere at all with your work because this is always
It's
in the
it's
evening.
in the evenings, right? So my 9 to 5 is there, then after 9 to 5 is what I do, right?
So, is doing something on your own in the BFSI area, is that of sort of interest to you? And
So we do have a wing within our company for entrepreneurship, and that's where we explore ways of how we can upsell to clients that we are currently working with. So by asking questions of where they want to be, what they're projecting, what direction they're using, and especially right now, the best example is tariffs. People are completely confused as to what's going to happen next, right? So if you have information or if you're well informed, especially about AI, how to incorporate AI within the tariff scenarios that you have, that helps them, right? So when you provide that initiative, right, And when you be proactive about, hey, I see there's a problem coming up within our particular project that we are doing, and there will be roadblocks down the road, right? Because things are going to get expensive. So, we have to provide them with the solution. It could be monetarily or it could be resource-based, where they might have to lay off people, right? So it's a fine line.
What I was getting at is perhaps, WZCC could play a role in helping you set up entrepreneurially a business of your own. Is that something that excites you?
Yeah, we could look into that. I haven't switched that gear as yet. I'm still
You think
looking
it's
into
some years away?
something down the road. Yes, I'm already planning on certain things that I'm doing on the side. So once that takes fruition, there might be something coming up in the near future. Because I don't see myself being in the IT consultancy field for long, because the field evolves itself a lot and it's a lot to grasp.
Okay.
Right? And it's a very high pressure situation every time you go into work. And especially at the stage where I am at, where you're managing humongous amounts of resources, it gets tough to carry that out. So you're working beyond your means at certain point of times.
So, Dilnavas, does WZCC offer any help to people? Yeah.
So thanks, Sam. And this is a shameless plug for ZEDF, and Sam didn't plan this. But the Zoroastrian Entrepreneurship Development Foundation is a joint venture between Bhesania and WZCC in North America. Okay. And now also we offer in the UK. What this fund does, and it's very similar.
And Canada?
And Canada, yes. And what this does also is very similar to the one in India, where basically the ZF over here, the plan is to raise $1 million as capital endowment, and we raised about $700,000. Rohinton and I are both trustees on that. And what we do is we offer interest-free loans to businesses up to $50,000. So they can't be complete startups, so it's not like a complete brand new startup with an idea, but if you have a business
to scale up,
right? So the people that we've given loans to is, like, for example, a sandwich shop, right, that wanted to scale up, a barber shop that wanted to buy, the next this thing over, a fertility clinic in the UK. So we've kind of given to those businesses. There are some parameters. There is a business advisory board. You have to kind of go through that. So you need a proper business plan. So yeah, shameless plug again. Anybody, the website is zedf.org, and it's a Bhesania WZCC joint project. There is one in India also. So sure, anybody over here who wants capital, wants to scale up, wants advice. So the business advisory board will have somebody, an expert who will then kind of mentor you, somebody who you can reach out to. So that opportunity is there. Please take us up on it.
So I hope all of us are listening to this. This is a fantastic scheme that WZCC and Bhesania has come up with. I think it's fantastic. And, they can help you get an entrepreneurial venture going, or at least at this stage for scaling up. Yeah, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, so just as a younger person here, I wanted to say that in the last 6 months, I actually received the $50,000 interest-free loan for my real estate company called Shazadi Capital. And we found this property that was a 5-unit, and it was just an incredible deal, and I just knew I needed to close really quickly. And I reached out to Adil Dava and I think maybe Arzan, and I was like, we're gonna close in 3 weeks. Is there any possibility we can make it happen? And somehow they really sped up the process in record time, and they wired me $50,000 within 3 weeks of reaching out to them from start to end. So I'm very grateful.
Good.
Thank you.
So let's come to our dentist friend. So between appointments, how do you sort of derive pleasure, or how do you relax? How do you unwind? Is there any kind of coping mechanism that you employ, or you take some time off, or how does it work?
Yes,
At least the way I see doctors in India, they're always busy. There's always a waiting line. There's always.
Yes, so there's days that vary, right? Some days you might get gaps in your schedule, and some days it's like straight away from one chair to the next. So I love playing Call of Duty on my phone. So yeah, like it's nothing special. It's just something that gives me pleasure. It just makes me, I know, shooting guns on a video game kind of calms me down. But yeah, it's just personal to me, right? I play Call of Duty on my phone in between patients if there's time or something like that. Yes, play games. That's what brings me happiness, Almighty.
So, let me ask the doctor another question.
Yeah, please.
Retirement, of course, is very far away for you, but do you sort of romanticize the idea of, I'm going to retire early, by the time I'm 50, I'm going to hang my boots up and, go and relax in the south of France or whatever? Does that kind of thought come to your mind?
Yes, definitely, and it goes in contrast with your speech, because you said don't retire early. Yeah, my dream retirement age would be 40, so not 50. But it's not a full retirement. It's where I slow down. So I would still be working, like, let's say 1 day a week or 2 days a week, or just like a visiting provider somewhere doing specialty cases. So then you're just going in maybe 2 days a month kind of thing. Your schedule's packed for 8 hours, 10 hours that day. You just do boom, 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 like one case after the other, and then the rest of the time is off. So maybe not a full retirement at 40, but definitely like reducing my schedule maybe to like 30-40% of what it currently is.
How do you see this early retirement before you got started? In India, there is a counter movement to this. There are two prominent people. I think one was Narayan Murthy, another was who? L&T chairman. Both of them said, we in India should be working 8 days a week. You're specific to India. Given where India is, given that we are on the cusp of lots of good things happening to us, this is the time for us to work. Let US and Canada relax and hang their shoes up, but it's different. How do you feel about it?
So I don't know what they were on when they made those statements, but I definitely wouldn't agree with them, because it doesn't make sense, right? See, the entire concept of having a work-life balance, there is no balance. There is only work. And if that work really brings you that much happiness, then go for it. But I don't think in a person's right mind working 72 hours or 80 hours a week would bring them proper, genuine happiness. Happiness could be in small amounts. Something as simple as going home to your family to have a meal. That is happiness. But these people miss their meals, right? Because they're working around the clock. And I think India, that way, for some or the other reason, believes a lot more in quantity over quality. And that is where we fall a little behind. But if I have to speak for the entire country, I don't know if I'll be able to, since I've not started working. You want to say something?
Actually, I can relate to that point that Sam made. Most of my offshore team works 70 hours a day already. And I've seen the amount of burnout
and
that they
they're
have.
in which country?
I think
They're in which country?
No, they're in ODCs. So we have ODCs in Chennai, Bhubaneswar, Hawaii, and Mumbai.
All in India.
Yeah, majority are in India, right? So I've seen that, and there's a contrast. So we also have pods in Helsinki, some in Sweden, and we have one in Poland. And I don't know why, but the Scandinavian countries have a totally different viewpoint about this. They want 4 days a week of work week. And I've seen that particular team, as a group, we've had more patents coming in and innovation coming in from them than from the Indian team. It's unfortunate,
So
but that's what it
work-life
is.
balance is important.
It's very important. And they will not even pick up my phone call. They're like, sir, I'm going for fishing. You cannot call me today. Okay, so that's the mentality they have. They don't want to answer phone calls, right? When we have certain questions to ask them.
Will a Canadian answer a phone call after business
If he's
hours?
Indian Canadian, yes, they will.
See, I think it's built over generations. You see, the Indians were known to work from a certain hour to a certain hour, but not definitively. So there was no concept, or rather, still isn't a very
No
prominent concept of overtime. You see, if India realizes that they're going to have to pay their workers overtime, they're going to tell everybody to stop working after 5. Because they'll probably, I mean, the economy will crash. It'll be that bad. But I think India needs to put their shoes up that way. They need to kind of create that work-life balance that is lacking there, because it's more of a patriarchy society still going on, wherein the fathers come home late and the mother takes care of the children. But now when the mothers also want to start working and be their own professional in their professional life, it becomes a little difficult.
Okay, so on that happy note, let's call this discussion to a close. Thank you very much, all of you, for sharing your views. I think